Morning. It's June 1st. I just wanted to do a little garden update. Our potatoes in the buckets are flowering. These are in 5-gallon buckets. They're doing great. The potatoes we planted in our little flower bed here, they're coming up really nice. These are some herb plants we planted a few days ago. They're starting to do their little thing. Here's our tomatoes we planted early in the season. They're starting to flower up pretty heavy. We've got nice tomatoes on a few of the plants already. Here's some beets we planted, so when the peas get done, they're already coming up. We'll take the peas down and put these in place. There's our little Carlos. Here's our peas in the box I built in the front of the truck in the driveway. As you can see, they've got nice flowers on them. Now the peas are starting to come out on them. Kind of loaded. Here's our giant Marconis. They're slow growing to start getting tall, but you can see they're already starting to put on some really nice peppers. Just about every plant is loaded up with these peppers, but the plants, for some reason, they're just not getting tall. Maybe it's because they get more sun here. I don't know. We'll see. Here's some more tomato plants we had planted right here. They're starting to do good. We'll come back around here. Here's our netting we put over our cabbages to keep the those little codling moths off of them. The cabbages are starting to come out now. It's picking up. It's early in the morning. I try to get out here before it gets too busy on the street. Then the traffic gets loud and the sirens start going. But there's our cabbages. Here's our carrots we planted early in the season. They're doing great. Here's one of the cucumbers we planted in a Omaha Steaks cooler. And it's getting to be, it's probably four feet tall. Well, in counting the cooler, but I've had to put some stakes in there and train it as it's growing up. We've got cucumbers on it, beautiful flowers. Here's our blueberry plants. We got our fungicide in the mail. We're going to get that on the plants probably tomorrow because we're going to get rain here today, and I don't want to do it and rain it right off of there, but they're starting to look good. These Blu-rays have a bigger berry than the Northlands, and they seem to be changing color a little faster. But the Northlands they're doing pretty good. They're a lot smaller berry, but that's okay too. So they're doing good. Here's the second carrot box we have. And they're just going crazy too. And we have tomato plants here in buckets, and I drilled really large holes in the bottom of the buckets. And then I buried the bottom of the bucket into the ground so the roots can actually grow. Sorry for that, about slipped on the rock. Grow right out of the bottom of these buckets. You can see that one's buried pretty deep. And grow right into the ground. When you're limited for space and you got to put them in a container, drill you some holes in the bottom of the buckets and your roots can go through the bottom and they can go into the ground. I did these containers too. These are a different tomato plant. These are Brandywine pinks. You can see the difference in the leaves. This is a traditional tomato plant leaf. You can see how it looks. And this is a Brandywine. They're more like a potato leaf. So if everything goes well, we'll have a couple of different varieties of tomatoes. Our blackberry bushes are coming out really nice. Our strawberries are about finished up. I think we've got maybe one or two more pickings. I'll get them this evening so the squirrels and the birds don't get them. I'll let them grow all day. Our cactus has its last flower on it. So everything's flowering and doing good. There's Allie. She's trying to get to the strawberries. She'll get her a strawberry off of it and eat the strawberries. So here's our blackberries up against the house on our trellis wire. They're starting to flower out and do really, really well. I think the ones back here I'm going to have to put a little more fertilizer on because I'm showing some magnesium deficiencies. If you'll look right here at the top of this plant, it's getting a little yellow and you can see the dark green veins and the leaves are yellowing. That's usually a sign of magnesium deficiency. So we'll get some calcium and magnesium mixed up and get some stuff put on these guys. And they're flowering pretty heavy too. So we're getting blackberries forming. These are some more potatoes that's just now coming up. Here's some wildflowers we planted to help with the bees and the insects pollinating our plants. Here's our ring fire pit that we found at the curb that we planted some seed potatoes in, and they're doing really well. Here's another thing I wanted to show you. This is a compost pile that we put leaves and our grass clippings from our bagger. And you can see down in here I've harvested some beets, so I've taken some beet leaves and onions, and there's our cactus flowers and lettuce. And the thing here's some garlic remnants. The thing I want to show you is, if you'll look right there, there's some sweet potatoes. I cut the ends off some sweet potatoes that our last 3 sweet potatoes we cooked from last year. They held really well all through the year. We just ate them last week. And I cut the ends off of them because they were shriveled up a little bit and threw them in the compost pile here, and they've sprouted. So we may actually, I don't know if they'll make it because this is a fresh compost pile and it's probably breaking down and going to get pretty hot, but they sure are growing out of it. You can see them right there. There's some more blackberry flowers. And here's a container that we had another cucumber plant in, and it's doing great. We've harvested all of our lettuce, and now our onions are, I'll probably have to get, these are leeks, not onions, I'm sorry. These are our leeks we planted. I'll probably have to get some of these out of here because I think they're hurting the pepper plant. They're sucking up all the nutrients, so we'll probably pull some of those. And if you'll look down here, we've got some ginger that I planted. It's starting to come up. When we pulled the lettuce, I had some gingers in the cups. So we got some ginger coming up back there, and over here on the side, here's another cucumber plant and another Omaha Steaks cooler. You can see this thing's doing really well. We've got a nice cucumber in here too, already forming. And you can see the baby cucumbers. But yeah, it won't be long and we'll be picking that one for a salad if it makes it. And then over here, last week I planted a row of these are yellow wax beans. I can't remember the variety. I think it's Kentucky. No, that's the green bean, not Kentucky Wonder. It's Cherokee, I believe is Cherokee wax bean, I believe was the name of it. So they're starting to come up. So that's nice. We'll have our runner beans. These things will grow up. They say bush, but you really have to trellis them up because they get tall. More blackberries, more flowers. Down here's a tomato. I had run out of room, so I just stuck it down here under the blackberry, and even it's doing well. It's got tomatoes on it. So now we'll here's a tomato plant. This is where I had my cucumber last year, but now we put a tomato plant in here, and this thing's going crazy. It's got all kind of blooms and all kind of tomatoes coming on it. And we're hoping that it'll fill that little trellis in. And 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we planted our sweet potatoes in this sweet potato box, which is just bags of leaves from last year, and the inside is full of leaves and grass and a little bit of soil. And as you can see, they're doing great. And then here's our what is this? Baby Dutch yellow gold potatoes. I had to put these stakes on here because the winds were really high and it was knocking these plants to the ground. So I put some post in the middle and on the corners, and then I run some string. Actually, it's my wife's yarn. I didn't have no string. I run out, so she donated a ball of yarn so we could tie these things up and keep the wind from beating them down to the ground. And there's the peas. Look at those things. They're getting close to 7 feet tall. I imagine with the bloom still coming out, we may hit 8 foot tall on these peas before they're done. They got so heavy that I had to, you can see these strings that I had to actually add another stake. I had to screw another stake onto the stakes to make this twice as tall. And let me back up and give you a shot of that. And now they're starting to come on with their peas and blooms. You can see they're getting loaded in there now. They were slow to start. They were fast to grow, but slow to start blooming and putting the peas on. But now that they're coming on pretty good. And there's our second box of Baby Dutch potatoes. And here's our Detroit dark red beet that's going to seed, and now you can start seeing it. And these things have a great smell. It's like a perfume honeysuckle smell when they start going to seed. They had some pollen on them, started pollinating out, and I can get that thing to focus. You can see them. It won't be long now. We'll be making some beet seeds. And here's our Cendrilla beet that we had from last year. We dug it up and put it in the crisper and replanted it this year. And it's doing good. I hope we get some seeds out of that. And here's our onions. They're doing great. Here's some more Yukon Gold potatoes. These were the first ones we planted in these pots and in these first 2 raised beds here. And they're probably 3 feet tall. So it won't be long before they'll start getting harvested. And here's our other row of little Marvel peas. And they're starting to get tons of blooms on them and a lot of peas. And then here's made a video of this, planting this little cucumber in a container. Here's one of the smallest cucumber plant we had, but you can see that thing's not small now. We're hoping that we can fill this whole fence area in right over here. I'm training it. You can see I'm training it, running up these sticks to grow to the fence. And then we've trained it to grow through the fence and weaved it back through to hold it up as a trellis. And we buried this pot in the ground also to help so it wouldn't get so root bound. And we've got a nice cucumber forming on that thing. So you can grow these things in a container. Very easy to do. I've got a video in my playlist that shows how to do it. Shows how we did it. Took 10 minutes to plant this little guy. And it's doing great. So if you're limited on space, put your cucumbers in a container. Here's our beets. And these beet leaves are getting huge. They're doing pretty good too. These are the Detroit Dark Reds. So yeah, they're doing great. It took them a minute to come on, but once they started going, and they're doing really good. See if I can get down in there, maybe get you a shot of a beet. There's a beet forming. But anyway, there's our little garden update. It don't take much, a little bit of sweat equity, a few seeds, and hopefully before long, we'll have this side of the house over here looking like a jungle. Anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching.